With how the furry fandom is viewed upon with contempt or complete disgust in both the public eye and media, SonicFox's recent success in the fighting game scene has had a positive impact on the fandom overall. Is it bad that I find that ironically hot? Heyo guys, my name's BetaEtaDelota, pronounced that way exactly, and today we'll be talking about, you guessed it, furries. It's almost like absolutely nothing changes on this channel. In this video, we'll be specifically talking about a quite talented individual by the name of SonicFox. I know he has a real name, but everyone knows him by SonicFox. Just like no one gives a fuck about my real name besides the people that really want to be friends with me. It's like, okay, I've never spoken to you before in my life, and you're calling me by my first name. Please don't talk to me ever again. But anyways, for those of you who don't know who SonicFox is, he's a pro fighting game player who's been in the competitive scene since I think 2014 with his first victory in the EVO Championship Series for Injustice. I probably butchered the hell out of all those terms. Yeah, you know that game that everyone's bad at? Oh wait, that's just me. He went on to win different tournaments in fighting games such as Mortal Kombat, Skullgirls, and Dragon Ball. Only recently has he come into popularity, at least in the furry fandom, when he competed in 2 different gaming tournaments and won both with his fursuit on. Now don't quote me on the historical accuracy of these events, but all I know for sure is that he was not in full fursuit. He was impartial because he wasn't wearing paws. That'd be pretty hard to pull off, but I'm sure he could do it. God damn, is his Fursona adorable though. Now one of the biggest things I would like to argue for this video is how his success in the competitive scene, or for that matter gaming scene, can and probably has given the furry community a better public outlook. To understand why this is good, we need to understand the base problem, which is how furries are viewed and portrayed by the media. Now if it wasn't clear enough already, allow me to emphasize that most normal people think furries are weird. I'm gonna link Quartz Husky's video talking about how news coverage on furries is bad for the fandom in the description below. He does an excellent job at explaining the topic, which will give a better understanding as to what I'll be talking about. All you need to know is that furries are not looked upon in a positive manner to those who do not know about the fandom or only know the bad stereotypes involved in it. In turn, the overall population in the fandom is either declining or the potential amount of people who would join the fandom has gone down. The one thing I believe the furry fandom needs more of are representatives in different communities. Yes, there was the case with a Connecticut councilman who was revealed to be a furry, but that was diffused and unfortunately seen as a bad thing. What I'm considering to be representatives are people who are part of 2 different communities, one of which being the furry fandom, and the other being something of similar, if not greater popularity, but different from the furry fandom. I'm talking about people who have a sort of tenure, or a decent level of respect among community members outside of the furry fandom. This could be a case where others learn about this individual becoming a furry, but nothing about how the individual portrays themselves changes. I don't know how much of that applies to this though, but this is why I wanted to focus on SonicFox. I don't know much about the actual history of how SonicFox became a furry or how that tied into his pro gaming career, but from what I can tell, he semi-integrated it into his build-up, then proceeded to just go with it in his recent tournaments. I think that was around the time when he actually got his fursuit too. And no, I'm not saying he embraced the furry fandom while competing in his tournaments. What I'm saying is that he more than likely stopped giving a fuck what people thought and showed him who he was and how he played. But that's just my assumption. Asking me to be 100% empathetic towards SonicFox and understand his actions while I barely know, let alone have talked to him, is pretty much impossible. Alright, so I just wanted to add something. Directly after recording this video, DogPatchPress released a little interview / breakdown of SonicFox's recent victories, along with what he had to say about being a furry, being a representative of the fandom, etc. Which, spoilers, the answers are just about the same as the predictions I had for what had happened. The link to this article will be in the description as well if you want to read more on it. It's a pretty good read and has some pretty good pictures of furries, if that's not motivating enough for you. With regards to what I said about SonicFox, I would argue that he is definitely a valid representative of the furry fandom in a different community, even if he didn't want it to happen. The first and most important reason for this is because he's being himself. From what I can tell, he's been portraying himself like he normally would, and he's having a blast with it. Because of this, people outside of the furry fandom can get a sense of what it's like to be a furry. Instead of only seeing news articles about the negative aspects of the fandom, people in the pro gaming scene can see the real thing. They can see SonicFox for who he really is with his furry representation. I mean, it's simple. He acts normal when he's a furry. People are like, oh shit, he's normal and he's a furry. Along with that, people are able to see the talent that SonicFox possesses in full form. Remember this video? This thing that I talked about?
hit that on my first fucking try.
Yeah. People outside of the furry fandom, seeing SonicFox compete and succeed, will more than likely have their normal expectations and conceptions of furries shattered. It's simple as well. If furries act talented in public, people are like, oh shit, these people are pretty cool. This can overall lead to less of a social stigma towards furries, maybe less of a social connotation towards the idea of furries, doubt, and hell, maybe more newcomers to the furry fandom. I can actually relate to the last portion of that statement. From me making the 7 levels of being a furry, I've gotten countless people DMing me telling me I introduce them to the fandom or help them find their place in the furry community. An example of this is Carnine, which honestly, that just warms my heart. With all egotism aside, I hope that one day I can be one of those representatives to lead a different demographic or people with a different interest to the furry fandom. Of course, the only thing I'm decent at outside of the furry fandom is mechanical engineering, writing project proposals, and Guitar Hero, which I would really love it if there was an offline pro scene for Guitar Hero. You really fucked that one up, didn't you, Activision? Outside of all this, I'm happy that the furry fandom has people that, even if they never meant to represent the fandom, still choose to be themselves and show what the fandom is actually about. So at the end of the day, to furries that have a social life and are not extremely fucking weird towards people, thank you. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, this is more of an iteration of the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated, and maybe, just maybe, things can change. Oh, except for ignorant people. Ignorant people will be ignorant, so let natural selection take its course. But anyways, that's all I really have for this topic. I think SonicFox is a pretty damn cool guy, especially his lack of fucks to give about what people think of him wearing a fursuit during a competition. I always worry about what people think of me, especially with the whole life jacket thing, though his actions kind of motivate me to want to do the whole fursuit thing while playing Guitar Hero, even though I would only do it for the pleasure of my viewers and maybe myself. And no, not that pleasure. I definitely want to do it at some point. If SonicFox is watching this for some miraculous reason, I already know he'd body me at any fighting game. But as for Clone Hero, I'm just saying, if you and I meet at a furry convention one day, we're setting up a best 2 out of 3 for Clone Hero. I can play a mean Soulless 4, but no, I can't FC it. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. This was a sort of different video, but I love doing it nonetheless. If you have any feedback about this topic along with some other things you want me to cover, let me know as well. Like and share this video and do all that normal jazz. Hoping for 30K before the end of the summer. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you later, guys. Take care.